Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's program. We are honored to have with us Dr. Dishant Parasharya, a well-known aquatic biologist and conservationist. He is currently working as the senior curator at Gujarat Council of Sand City. With over 15 years of experience in marine and biodiversity conservation, Dr. Dishant has done amazing work in saving marine life, especially coral reefs in the Gulf of Kutch. He has also worked with Bombay Natural History Society and has developed methods for coral transplantation that are widely used. He has a PhD in zoology from MS University of Baroda and is a trained scuba diver, which allows him to explore and protect underwater ecosystems. We are excited to hear from him today and learn more about his inspiring work to protect nature and marine life. I would request Dr. Krunal Soni to welcome him with a bouquet of flowers.
I'll be talking more about the marine life of Gujarat today. If I have to ask any of you, give me name of 5 wild animals found in Gujarat. How many of you can give? Lion नहीं नाम लेना है, except lion. Can you count yourself? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. इंडिया के 10 एनिमल्स बोल सकते हो आप, वाइल्ड एनिमल्स? यस और नो? सो गुजरात के, कैन एनीबडी टेल मी 5 नेम्स? प्लीज रेज योर हैंड. सन्नाटा. व्हाई वी डोंट नो? We don't like? We don't like animals? हम तो जो स्ट्रीट में हमारा डॉगी आता है उसको तो रोज पार्ले जी खिलाते हैं. So it is very important to know that what we have as a wildlife and what we mean by wildlife. What is, हम किसको wildlife बोलते हैं? Those animals which we cannot tame, right? जिसको हम पाल के घर में नहीं रख सकते उसको हम वाइल्ड लाइफ बोलते हैं. I'll be talking about the marine life. There is so much life in the marine waters in Gujarat which we are not very much aware of. So I'll be talking about that. But before that, we need to understand the wildlife map of India. There are so many wildlife within India. We are one of the 12 mega biodiverse country of the world. दुनिया के ऐसे जो देश है जिसमें बायोडाइवर्सिटी मीन्स वाइल्ड लाइफ बहुत ज़्यादा है, वी आर अमोंग्स देम. Why we need them? Why we talk about conserving them? Any idea why we need them? You know, there are so much wildlife within the country, within the state. And so many times we say that we need to save tiger, we need to save lion, we need to save birds, we need to save butterflies. कोई रीज़न तो होना चाहिए ना, ऐसे ही बचाना है बस. They have a significant ecological role. You might have studied in your schools about the ecological role. You know, the food chain, pyramids. All the animals are one or the other way connected to the other animal. For example, in our house, we see lizards. I don't like lizards in my house, to be very honest. बट लिजर्ड जो हाउस गेको है जिसको हम लिजर्ड बोलते हैं, वो आपने देखी है? घर में तो देखी है सबने, उसमें तो हाँ बोलो यार. हाँ. What is its role in our life? नहीं पता है ना. क्या करते हैं? मच्छर को खा जाते हैं. To eat away mosquitoes, other small insects. That is its role. So what we do, we shoo away the lizard. और हमने क्या किया? मच्छर के लिए हीट ला दिया. So we did an invasion. But what I want to say that each and every animal has an ecological role. They are dependent on each other. That's why all these kind of animals are required in life. They have economic role. You know, all these natural resources have an economic role. For example, fishes. You know, they are used, consumed as food. So it generates revenue. Then lot of people go out in wild, in nature as a tourist. So these places have an economic value. Like we go for tiger safari to Ranthambore or Kanha, right? We go to Andaman Nicobar. Why we go there? They are naturally beautiful places. We like to go there. We like to see tigers there. We go to Sasangir. So they generate economy. They contribute to our economy. That's why they are important. They are the biodiversity. You see 4 animals here, they are of the same genus, but they are different. Lion, tiger, panther and snow leopard. Right? There is a cultural value. What kind of examples, especially those who are Gujarati will be knowing. You know, these some of the examples you can see. If there is a dumb fellow, we call it sav gadheda jevo chhe. You know, why we call that? Because it is easy to connect. Kokne modi light thai. You know, if somebody is talking a lot, you know, especially in schools when the girls used to talk a lot, then we call them su kabar niche kach kare chhe. So all these animals, you know, have a cultural value because somewhere as you know, when there is an age of imprinting, it is very easy to connect animals. That's why also animals are important. The biodiversity is important. Many of the religions, they depict animals. Why? Somewhere there is a message of conservation in that. So that's why also these animals are important. They are majestic, they are beautiful. Just like I like Deepika Padukone, I like animals. I love to see them for 3 hours in a theater, in wild. Right? I love to see tigers for 2 hours, 3 hours in their natural habitat. That's why they are important. It gives a lot of peace to my mind. Many of the girls like Ranveer Singh, Ranbir Kapoor, anybody. The same way people love animals. They love to spend time with them. They are good for your mental and physical health. That's why they are important, and that's why we need to conserve them. So that is the prelude of what I want to say today. You know, that these animals are important. सिर्फ ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारा स्ट्रीट डॉग है वही हमारा नेशनल एनिमल हो जाए. You know, because we have a lot of empathy for pigeons and street dogs, but we can't even name 5 wild animals of our state. So today I'll be talking about the marine life which is there in Gujarat. So it's maybe relatively a new world because a lot of things you might have not experienced, not seen. So feel free to ask because asking is not dumb. Right? You want to learn something and that's why you are asking. Firstly, we need to understand about the wetlands. What are wetlands? A land where water is found. And if we talk about Gujarat, we have two huge gulfs, Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Ahemdabad. Now, these are the areas which contributes to the coastal wetlands of the state. So, if you see the smaller graphs of coastal wetlands, the total area of India is around 41,000 square kilometers, out of which 28,000 square kilometers is only found in Gujarat. So, it is a huge area, and that is why also as a part of geography also it is very important to us. Now, if you go to the coast of Gujarat, what do you see? Different habitats. How many of you understand habitats? The word habitat. Anybody? It's basically an area where there is a certain kind of vegetation you will see, certain kind of environment you will see. The water parameters will be in a certain range, that is known as the habitat, right. So, we have different habitats on the coast. We have coral reefs in the Gulf of Kutch region. If you are traveling from Jamnagar to Okha, you will see almost 42 islands which has coral reefs. And one of India's first marine national park was established there. So, coral reefs we have mangroves. We have mangroves in Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Ahemdabad. We have mangroves in the estuaries of South Gujarat also. We have huge mud flats. In the areas of Gulf of Ahemdabad, we have mud flats where the tidal amplitude is more than 11 meters. What is tidal amplitude? I am coming to that. You will be amazed to see what dynamics the oceans have. Then we have sand dunes also. If you are traveling towards the Saurashtra coast, that is Porbandar, Veraval, Mangrove, we have sand dunes also. We have some rocky cliff kind of structures also on the shore. And we have sea grasses also in our sea. Grass, but inside the sea. So, they are sea grasses. Then there is a man-made wetland known as salt pans. Gujarat is one of the largest states exporting salt to the neighboring countries. And you will be amazed to know that Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, a lot of these, even they are small countries, they entirely depend on India, especially on Gujarat for their salt consumption. So, these salt is made in the salt pans, and they also act as a habitat for a lot of biodiversity, especially the migratory birds which come from Europe, Central Russia, Eastern Russia during the winter time. So, these salt pans are also very important in terms of biodiversity. The first very important ecosystem I will be talking about are the coral reefs of Gujarat. They are found along the Jamnagar coastline. This area. So, these are the coral reefs found in the Gulf of Kutch, southern shore of the Gulf of Kutch area. These are one of the northernmost in terms of geography. If you see, the other coral reefs are in Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobars, and Gulf of Mannar. Compared to these three, this is the northernmost in the country. And if you read about coral reefs, they say that the temperature should be around 20-22 degrees Celsius, the tropical environment. But these coral reefs are very unique. They can survive in the temperature till 30 degrees Celsius. Sometimes the temperature in Jamnagar goes up to 40 degrees. Still they survive. Because of high temperature, the evaporation rate is more. So the salinity will increase, though they survive. So it is a unique gene pool of corals. This is about the currents and nutrient flow in that particular region, and these nutrients are very important for corals to grow. Now I was talking about the tidal amplitude. The tidal amplitude means when there is a tidal cycle of low tide and high tides. The difference at certain point between these two tides in Gulf of Kutch region is sometimes more than 5 meters. So here in this slide, if you see, there is a small island called Curator in Gulf of Kutch. This is a satellite image taken during the high tide. You can see only the island portion. But the same island, when the image is taken during the low tide, it looks entirely different. So this is the island region, and rest of the entire portion, that is the coral reef that we can see. So this tidal amplitude plays a major role in the growth of corals also. So if there is an ecosystem, if we talk about the energy pyramid, there has to be somebody called primary producers. In forest, we have trees as primary producers, grasses as primary producers. Similarly, in oceans also, we have algae as primary producers, we have seagrass as primary producers, and we have mangroves as primary producers. This is the typical coral reef that you can see in Gulf of Kutch. Unlike what pictures when you Google and you see the corals from Maldives or Coral Triangle, that is Andamans, Malaysia, Singapore. No, we don't have those beautiful looking branching corals, but that does not mean we don't have corals. We have corals, but they are different in size and shapes. Doesn't matter, they function the same as those which are in the other parts of the country. So these are the reef builders. Now can anyone tell me what are corals? Are they animals, plants? What are they? How many of you say plants? Just raise your hand. Okay, I am not looking at you. Now tell me, how many of you see? Animals? अरे यार कुछ तो पता होना चाहिए. दो में से एक में तो हाथ ऊंचा करो. Assessment थोड़ी ना है. See, corals are basically animals. You know about the jellyfish? Jellyfish आप लोगों को पता है? The same kind of phylum known as cnidarians. So corals are basically animals. But the interesting thing is there is a small microscopic algae which stays inside corals, inside the tissue of corals. And why it is so? Because that algae will do photosynthesis, make the food and share it with corals. In return, coral will allow the algae to stay inside its body. So it is basically a symbiotic relationship between corals and algae. Then there are some primary consumers. There are starfishes, fishes, shells, so many things. On the consumers, there are predators. There are some sea snakes are there, sharks are there, turtles are there, and the top predators. We are amongst them. Some other biodiversity, you are sitting on a very comfortable chair. What is there in the material? Sponge, right? Very spongy. Where did people get idea of this sponginess? That yes, something is very comfortable. So there is something called natural sponge. That is an animal available in the oceans. Sponges. There are about 70 different varieties and 70 different species of sponges we can see on the Gujarat coast. different color, different size, different shape. And sponges, when dried, they are used as the loofah which we use, the artificial loofah, to scrub the screen. In Europe, the sponges are used for that. Then there are some cnidarians. Cnidarian is a phylum in which corals, zooanthers, sea anemones, jellyfishes, they all come. We have 90 plus species of that. Then if we have to, see the crabs, the prawns, lobsters, they all come under the crustacean group. So we have more than 100 of them. Mollusk is one of the largest group of animals which we can see in the reefs of Gulf of Kutch, and we have around 500 odd species of these mollusks. Then echinoderms, that is the starfish and the allied families, we have 10. More than 400 species of fish we can see in the coral reefs of Gulf of Kutch. There are more than I think 200, 250 odd birds which come on these coral reefs to feed, to nest, so many things. We have 4 species of turtle, out of which 2 nest regularly in Gulf of Kutch area. And we have 4 species of marine mammals. We have dolphins, 2 species of dolphins, regularly seen in that particular area. And dolphins you can see throughout the Gujarat coast. You don't need to travel anywhere out of Gujarat to see dolphins. We have dugongs, which is a very unique kind of animal which only feeds on seagrass. Only herbivore marine mammal, which is dugong. That also comes to the coast of Gujarat. And there are few endemic animals also. How many of you can recognize this? This is not a donkey. Looks like a donkey. Has anybody seen this animal? Khachar. It's not a khachar. Yes, wild ass. Who said? Very good. Clap for you. Okay, now where you see wild ass? Exactly. Anywhere else in the world? No. An animal which you see in any particular area, any particular region, is called as endemic to that particular area, because in the entire world you can see that particular animal anywhere else. So that is endemic. Just like the wild ass, wild ass is seen only in the Little Run and Great Run of Kutch, nowhere else. You will not see wild ass in Bangalore, you will not see wild ass in Sasangir, you will not see wild ass in Ranthambore, Kana, Pench, anywhere, or Kabini, nowhere. Just like that, this tiny animal, which is known as a sea slug, it's a mollusk, it's a nudibranch, and its scientific name is Sakureolis gujaratica. Why the name, the last name says gujaratica? Because it is only found in a very small tidal pool of Gujarat, near Dwarka. It's a very hardly a 300 by 300 square meter tidal pool, and you will be able to see this sea slug only there in the entire world. So that kind of uniqueness our seas have. So that is about the biodiversity value. Now, if I have to talk to a policymaker, to a politician, that I want to conserve this area because there is a lot of beautiful animals, do they understand? They don't understand. Paiso ketlo છે એમાં? How much money, how much return you get from that particular area. So there was a study which says that around 80 lakh rupees per square kilometer you get from the coral reefs. in terms of tourism, in terms of fisheries, and there are so many other benefits. What is the investment? What you have to invest? Nothing. Just protect these coral reefs, and you will get in return almost 80 lakh rupees per square kilometer. And what is the total area of that particular coral reefs of Gulf of Kutch? More than 400. So you can multiply it, that what is the economic benefit of these coral reefs. And this is the उसके ऊपर जैसे थप्पा मारते हैं ना, so this is certification that Gujarat stands second largest production of fish in the entire country, and that is because of these beautiful coral reefs. The second very important ecosystem is the mangroves. What are mangroves? They are basically plants which grows between the high tide and low tide line. They need a bit of salt water to grow. They are shrubby to trees in nature. They have unique adaptations and unique biodiversity. They have some beautiful kind of crabs which has a long one arm and a one short arm. Then there is a very unique kind of fish called mud skipper. It can skip on mud and can breathe outside water for hours and hours. The roots of mangroves they grow in reverse direction. They grow out of the soil. Generally, roots grow deeper in soil. The roots of mangrove, they grow outside the soil because the soil of mangroves is very muddy. The roots cannot breathe inside, so they try to grow outside and breathe. These roots are called pneumatophores. Right? So mangrove has special adaptations. These mangroves are one of the best shore protectors. Why shore protectors? In 2004, there was a huge tsunami on the east coast of India. You might be aware or read somewhere. The places where mangroves were found, there was less damage compared to other areas. And then people realized that mangroves help in stopping these kind of rapid erosions, tsunamis. So then we started, planting mangroves also. There are a lot of, other important functions of mangroves. They are the carbon sequesters. They grab the carbon, not only in their, body, but also as a sediment. They bind the sediments, and that's how also they store carbon in their sediments. They are the biodiversity hotspots because in these small crevices of mangroves, lot of fishes, crabs, they come to lay their eggs. So that's how also they are very important, and it filters the water. So in terms of natural filtration, they filter out the pollutants also. Then there are few threats to the mangroves also. There are land reclamation, cutting of mangroves. In Gujarat, there are about 13 different varieties of mangrove you can see. And where you can see in Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Khambhat, South Gujarat, the Saurashtra coast has less mangroves because there is very limited riverine flow or estuaries. Generally, mangroves grow in the, they require a mixture of salt water and fresh water. So most of the estuaries have mangroves. So this is the restoration in government setup. Wherever the mangroves are cut or there is some problem with mangroves, the government, the forest department, they try to do restoration of these mangroves. So there are some efforts going on in Gujarat, in this South Gujarat area. Some of the restoration work is going on in the Gulf of Kutch area. Now there are two different terms which I just want to make you understand. There is something called ecological restoration, and there is something called plantation. What is the major difference? Just a small thing I want to make very clear, that not knowing that why we are doing this, and just simply blindly putting trees in one particular area is plantation, and that is not service to the society. What we need to do is the restoration, or identifying what is the requirement of that particular area, that particular soil. That is ecological restoration. You need to know previously whether it was available there or not. Then only you can do the plantation or restoration work. There are so many mangrove plantation techniques. There you can raise saplings in the nurseries and then you can transfer them. There is a very unique, fishbone technique in which, in the mudflat areas we make structures. We dig the structure like a fishbone and plant the mangroves over there. There are few raised beds in which we make the beds of mud and then put the seeds on the top of it. Now comes very important part. We talked about the marine life and all, but what the problems we are facing? What are the things which needs to be addressed as a youth, as a citizen? What we need, at least we should know that this is a problem. The problem can be of two types. One is natural, we cannot do anything. Nature is taking care of its own things and we can't help it. One of the major problem in the coastal areas is cyclone and the earthquakes. These two are major problems. Cyclones damage the mangrove ecosystem like anything, and the earthquakes, the upwelling of the soil, that harms the coral reefs drastically. So these are the natural ones, but there are so many human induced challenges. Some of the coral reefs, mangrove areas, they have the land part also, a portion of land, because it is basically an intertidal region, a region between high tide and low tide. So it is prone to reclamation. What is reclamation? You try to stop water coming in that particular area. Over the period of time, that wet area will be completely dry, and then you can build structures on that. The best example of land reclamation is Mumbai. Mumbai was basically, a cluster of islands. Now it is totally a one single landform. That is because lot of land was reclaimed, connected, and the city was built. बड़ौदा में बैठे हैं, अहमदाबाद में बैठे हैं. Why we should be worried about the oceans? If I am sitting in Delhi, I should not be worried about oceans. Why? It is 1,000 kilometers far from us. But 80% of the solid waste found in ocean is coming from the mainland. Depending upon the ecological sensitivity, the government classified some of the areas. This is the ecologically sensitive area. We should not do something like this in this particular area and all. But what actually happens? This is Gulf of Kutch, right? Now there is a power plant here. There is something else here. There is a port here. There is a chemical factory here. There are two large refineries here. And this particular area falls under the eco-sensitive zone. Similarly, in Gulf of Khambhat also. This is the Dahej and entire the, Bharuch area, Ankleshwar area. There is a huge shipbreaking yard in Bhavnagar. And Gulf of Khambhat is also classified as ecologically sensitive area. Lot of ships, jetties are coming up. There is also a problem of bycatch. Now this is something, a new term, bycatch. We understand catch, but what is bycatch? Something that you don't want but accidentally comes in your net. When people go for fishing, if they want that, I want to catch a pomfret, you know, they catch pomfret, but with pomfret they get sardines also, which they really don't want. Then sardines are the bycatch. Now in oceans you cannot target actually a single species, because when you throw the net you don't know what is happening down below water. So the total catch, if you get 100%, the ratio of catch and bycatch is 60-40. 40% is something that you really don't want. So you tend to discard it. In discarding, you lose something, you know, so it's totally a loss of biodiversity. So you get 100 kg of catch, 40 kg you are throwing out again. वो वापस फेंकने में, वापस ओशंस में डालने में, या तो कितनी सारी फिश मर जाएगी, कोई क्रैब का पैर टूट जाएगा, some turtle would die. So that is also a problem. Then there is a problem of ballast water. So what is ballast? We all know that ships travel in the water. Now these ships requires to be balanced so that they don't, you know, palti na maar jaye. They don't sink. So they need to be balanced. And to balance them, the captain has to fill water in some of the areas of the ship to balance the weight of the ship. Now if a ship is starting from, you know, India and going to Dubai, so the ship will fill the water of India, Indian coast, Indian Ocean water, and it will travel to Dubai. Now while reaching Dubai, it has to empty that water while offloading the goods. So what is big deal in that? यहाँ से पानी डाला, वहाँ पे पानी निकाल दिया, उसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है? There is a word called invasion. With that water, lot of other biological material comes inside, which you are taking from the India coast, throwing on the Dubai coast. Similarly, you are doing it from the Dubai coast to India coast. Lot of small animals are transported like that. And why it is harmful? Because they become invasive. They kill the native species. They try to flourish more. And they don't have that much economic or ecological value compared to the native species. So that's the problem. And that's why this ballast water is also very harmful. Now this blue colored, again a nudibranch or a sea slug, is the classic example or the unique example of it. We were studying coral reefs and these animals in Gulf of Kutch, and we found this animal. And we identified that the scientific name of this animal is Cuthona yamasui. Now the name itself suggests that there is some connection with China, Japan, something like that. The species is originally from Japan, but we found it in Gujarat. If you open the map, Google map, you see where is Japan, where is Gujarat, and this tiny animal is hardly, you know, 5 to 6 mm. How did it swim from Japan to Gujarat? No, it did not. It traveled through this kind of invasion, this kind of ballast water or something like that. And there are destructive fishing methods. People use, you know, DDT and other poison powders to do fishing. There are at few places, like not in Gujarat, but in southern parts of India, dynamite fishing is also taking place. So these are destructive fishing methods. So what to do? How conservation happens. If time permits, we have a small video also which I will share with you. You can see it. There is a very beautiful story of conservation within Gujarat, and that is of whale shark. Are you aware of whale shark? There are two different words in one animal. How many of you are aware that there is something called whale shark is there? It is basically a fish. It is a shark. But because of its giantness, it is also known as gentle giant, and it is known as whale shark. So now this animal, this fish used to come to the Gujarat coast because it used to rear its young ones near the Gujarat coast. So it was coming here. And in the winter season, during the peak fishing, the fishermen of the Saurashtra coast, Mangrove, Verawal, Porbandar, they used to hunt this fish with barrels, empty barrels. And what kind of yield, what kind of economic benefit that they will get, because this fish grows to almost 10 meters, 12 meters. Such a huge fish. So if they catch one fish, they will get 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, sometimes 2 lakh rupees from one fish. And the hunting became very rapid, very intense. That at national level we realized that we are losing this fish from this coast. Firstly, government tried to intervene, going to the fishermen, fishing community, don't hunt. Nobody listened. Scientists like me went there, okay, don't hunt. This is very important fish, we are losing out, these are the statistics. In so and so year, in 1990 we had 500, now we have 200. Nobody listened. What to do? Then, a very, very local person, he gave an idea. Why not to involve some religious leader? There has to be some strategy. There has to be some Chanakya Niti when it comes to, policy making, when it comes to get work done. So there is a religious leader in that particular region known as Murari Bapu, who does this Ram Katha and everything. Everybody listens to him, not to anybody else. They will not listen to their parents, but they will listen to Murari Bapu. So government approached him, Bapu, during your Katha, please say that the fishermen should not kill this whale shark. It is a very important species to us. And Murari Bapu agreed, said, okay, I will do that. So Murari Bapu conveyed the message, lot of people started believing him that, okay, this is fine, if he is saying, then there is some sense. Now, if the fish accidentally gets caught in their net, what to do? They have to cut the net and release the fish. Now, the net is expensive. 20,000 net, how they will manage? These are poor fishermen. एक तो लाख 2 लाख की fish हम ऐसे ही जाने दे रहे हैं, ऊपर से our net is getting cut. So the corporate came in the picture, Tata Chemicals. They said, okay, we will try to manage fund and give fishermen a compensation of 25,000 for each net. Who will, document and everything. Forest department said, okay, we will document everything that this fish was caught, this fellow has released it. And that's how the conservation of whale sharks began. And in last 20 years, around 900 and something, the number is, whale sharks were actually rescued. You just imagine that to convince a person, a poor fisherman, to just let go a catch of lakh, 2 lakh rupees is no joke. But that is a very successful story of conservation within Gujarat, and it's not about lions, and hardly any of us know about it. Whereas in the field of conservation, it is a benchmark globally. So it is very important to know the heroes and stories of your own state, your own neighborhood, than following somebody else. Then last couple of slides. There is a concept of blue flag beach. A beach which looks very beautiful, very neat and clean. Yes, it is beautiful, but it's dead. What happens that people, when we declare these as blue flag beach, they clear all the algae, all the biological material from that area. So it looks good, but it is dead. It doesn't have life. It does not support life. So concept of blue flag beach needs to be, thought once again, or some modifications are required in designing the blue flag beaches. We talked about mangrove plantation. There is a lot of plantation happening, especially in mangroves. But the problem is, if we cover all the mud flats with mangroves, then where the birds will go? If we are overpowering one ecosystem above another, then there is again a problem. So blindly doing something is also a problem. So this is also a problem which needs to be addressed. Overplantation of mangroves. India is the country of rules. There are so many rules. If I say that I want to conserve this, okay, there are 20 rules which help in conserving. But execution, implementation is the key. So what is required right now? That awareness, talking to people about the problem, talking to people about the plausible solutions, and talking to each and every stakeholder. It is required right now. Another thing that is required a lot is inventorizing what we have. Right now there are a lot of portals which help you identify the in your surroundings. Lot of portals like eBird, for example, for birds. It helps you identify birds around you. So it is important to identify these kind of portals, upload some of the your observations, try to learn from it. We need to reduce the waste we generate, which is non-recyclable, non-biodegradable. Whenever we are visiting wilderness areas, oceans, beaches, then there has to be a responsible behavior. We don't go just to get drunk and then. So that's it. I have a small documentary with me. So if we have time, then we can see. Otherwise, if you have any questions, he has a question.
हेलो सर, थैंक यू फॉर द सेशन. सो सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि फॉर एग्जांपल कोई एक स्पीशीज़, एक एंडेमिक स्पीशीज़ है जो सिर्फ वही एरिया में फाउंड होती है, लेकिन ड्यू टू कंटिन्यूस हंटिंग और नेग्लिजेंस वो स्पीशीज़ वहाँ पे बहुत कम हो गई. सो एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज़ है, वो ऑलमोस्ट एक्सटिंक्ट होने वाली है. लेकिन थ्रू सम वे और अनदर वो किसी और जगह पे पहुंच गई और वहाँ पे फ्लरिश कर रही है, लेकिन वो इकोसिस्टम के लिए वो पर्टिकुलर स्पीशीज़ इन्वेजिव है. तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में इस सिचुएशन कैसे टैकल कर सकते हैं सर?
दो चीज़ें. एक तो वो पहुंची कैसे, वो जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है. वेदर इट इज़ अ नेचुरल ट्रांसपोर्ट और किसी ने उसको वहाँ पे पहुँचाया है, वो जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है. इफ़ इट इज़ अ नेचुरल प्रोसेस, तो वहाँ पे उसको टोटली निकाल नहीं सकते, लेकिन उसको वहाँ पे हम रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकते हैं. उसका जो रिप्रोडक्शन है उसको रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकते हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हम बहुत सारी जगह पे जैसे स्ट्रे डॉग्स है तो उसको हम न्यूट्रलाइज करते हैं. राइट, ताकि उसकी पॉपुलेशन ज़्यादा बढ़ ना जाए। तो उस हिसाब से एक कर सकते हैं। दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि जब कोई एक पर्टिकुलर रीजन में वो कम होने लगे तो या तो उसकी आइडेंटिकल हैबिटेट ढूंढ के उसको वहाँ पे ट्रांसलोकेट किया जा सकता है, या फिर उसका कैप्टिव ब्रीडिंग करके वही एरिया में इसको री इंट्रोड्यूस किया जा सकता है। सो दैट इज़ द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन दैट वी हैव फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पीशीज़। दूसरे एरिया में उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है उसका एक डिटेल स्टडी करना पड़ता है सबसे पहले, दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग विद इन दैट इकोसिस्टम। इफ इट इज अ थ्रेट टू दैट इकोसिस्टम देन इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू रिस्ट्रिक्ट द पॉपुलेशन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पीशीज इन दैट एरिया।
थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू।
गुड आफ्टरनून सर, थैंक यू फॉर द सेशन। सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था, इंडिया एक डेवलपिंग कंट्री है, तो हमारे लिए डेवलपमेंट भी उतना ही ज़रूरी है, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ नेचर को बचाना भी ज़रूरी है। और उसके लिए यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने जो 17 सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के जो गोल्स सेट किए थे, क्योंकि काफ़ी सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स गवर्नमेंट रोज़ाना टेक ओवर, तो क्या एक्चुअली ये फॉलो किए जाते हैं कि नहीं?
See, development and nature, these two, in ideal condition, it can be in balance. लेकिन ideal condition वो होता नहीं है, right? So to achieve sustainability is, I will not say impossible, but next to impossible, off the record. Either we can have development or we can have nature. The ideal way is, that where to stop. If that we know, then we can conserve nature. Because, human greed cannot end anywhere. We are very greedy people. If, for an example, if I have to talk about Gulf of Kutch where I work, there are 2 huge refineries. They are the largest refineries of Asia. But though being a marine biologist, will I be able to tell that no, they should not be there or it should be, shut down? I cannot say, because country's 80% fuel comes from there. If it shut down means 80% of our country will be blank, will not have petrol, diesel, anything. So what is the need of the hour? That we need to understand, right? And somewhere government is now realizing that, and that's why the projects like Cheetah or other things which are coming up now. So we are on the forefront of development and we are on the first step of restoration. That is what I feel personally, because we are a developing country. We cannot follow the norms, terms which has been already laid by UN or by United States of America, because they have achieved something and now they are preaching us, whereas their carbon footprint is much more higher than us per capita. So yes, we are now realizing the need of the hour. We are on the taking the first leap of the restoration or towards the nature conservation.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? बहुत नींद आ रही है. Okay, thank you so much.
Good afternoon. As we conclude this enlightening session, I extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of everyone to Dr. Dishant for sharing his valuable time and sharing his wealth of knowledge with us. Your passion and dedication to marine conservation have been truly inspiring, and your insights will undoubtedly motivate us to take action for protecting biodiversity. Let us carry forward the learning from today and work towards a more sustainable and environmental conscious future. Once again, Thank you, Dr. Dishant, for your time and dedication. Now I would like to call Dr. Mihir Trivedi to facilitate sir with the memento. I would request everyone to be maintain decorum as we need to shoot the feedback video for our Instagram handle.